In the world of regulatory compliance, something big is happening. Seriously, we're seeing this massive shift away from just reacting to problems toward using AI to actually predict them. So today we're going to dive into what this predictive leap really means and why, honestly, it's changing the whole game.
Just think about that for a second. Not just finding a mistake after the fact, but actually stopping it from ever becoming a mistake in the first place. I mean, that's the core promise here. And for industries where the stakes are incredibly high, that is a total game changer.
And if you want to understand the scale of the problem we're talking about, just look at this number. Over 4,000. That's how many FDA Form 483s were handed out in fiscal year 2024. And a 483 is basically the FDA's polite way of saying, hey, we found some things you really need to fix. So yeah, this isn't some small niche issue. It's a huge challenge across entire industries.
So why are we seeing so many of these problems pop up? Well, it really boils down to this idea of a compliance overload. The old ways of keeping track of everything, they're just buckling under all the pressure. You know, the rulebook is just getting thicker and more complicated every single day. And the old school methods, things like people manually reviewing documents or using really simple rule-based software, they're just too slow. They're too clunky. They were designed for a much simpler world, and they just can't keep up with this new reality.
And if you need proof that just being reactive isn't working, here it is. A whopping 72% of FDA warning letters in 2023 were for repeat issues. Think about that. It means companies are basically playing whack-a-mole, fixing the symptom but never getting to the root cause. So the same problems just keep coming back again and again.
Okay, so this is where AI steps into the picture. And we're not talking about some minor software update here. This is a fundamental change in how we think about compliance. It's about shifting from constantly looking in the rearview mirror to actually looking ahead at the road.
And this shift has a name: Predictive Compliance. The whole idea is to use AI to crunch massive amounts of data and spot patterns that no human ever could. It's kind of like the difference between mopping up the floor after a pipe bursts and having a system that tells you, hey, that specific pipe is about to burst next Tuesday.
And this really shows the incredible leap we're talking about. I mean, we started with these painstaking, super slow manual reviews. Then we got a little better with rule-based systems that were faster but still really rigid. And now we're at step 3, intelligent learning systems that can actually see what's coming around the corner. Now, this isn't just some sci-fi theory. Let's take a look at how this is actually playing out right now in two of the most heavily regulated industries on the planet. Okay, so on one hand, you have finance, where AI is on the front lines, sniffing out potential fraud in real time. Then on the other, you have pharma, where AI is right on the factory floor, predicting when a piece of machinery might break down. Two totally different fields, but the goal is exactly the same: get ahead of the problem.
Okay, I love this slide because it's kind of funny, but it makes a really complex idea super simple to grasp. The same basic AI principle that can learn to tell a chihuahua from a muffin can be trained to spot microscopic defects on a production line. It's all about pattern recognition, whether it's the pattern of a puppy's face or a tiny invisible crack in a glass vial.
So if we zoom back in on that farmer production line, what's AI actually doing? Well, it's working on a bunch of levels. It's flagging deviations the second they happen. It's automatically digging to find the root cause. It's even predicting when a machine needs maintenance. All of this works together to make sure every single batch is as close to perfect as possible.
But, and this is a big but, you can't just flip a switch and turn on AI for everything. This regulatory continuum shows that different uses for AI have different levels of risk. So, for example, using AI to predict when a machine needs a tune-up, that's probably not a huge regulatory deal. But using AI to be the final decision maker on whether a product is safe to ship, whoa, that is way at the other end of the scale, and it's surrounded by regulations.
So all this technology sounds amazing, but what's the actual payoff? What does this mean for the bottom line? Well, the numbers are pretty incredible. Get this, one study of investment firms that brought in AI found their compliance costs dropped by a massive 45%. That's almost half. A huge cost center practically cut in half. That is a direct, undeniable impact.
And it's not just about slashing costs either. Those exact same firms saw a 38% jump in the accuracy of their reporting to regulators. So let that sink in. They're spending less money to get better, more reliable results. It's a total win-win.
And if you're wondering how this is even possible, let's peek under the hood for a second. One specific AI model that was tested showed a 90.2% precision rate in spotting anomalies. That's the kind of rock-solid reliability that makes this whole predictive shift possible in the first place.
So when you put it all together, what do you really get? This is about so much more than just checking a compliance box. It's about turning your compliance department from a defense-only team into a strategic powerhouse. It's about seeing the whole playing field, anticipating the next move, and managing risk before it even becomes a threat.
Okay, but let's be real. A change this big isn't going to be a walk in the park. Adopting AI is absolutely a strategic goal, but you have to be really thoughtful about the new kinds of risks it brings to the table.
This visual here, they call it the AI regulatory topic flower, and it does a great job of showing what I mean. See, AI isn't some isolated thing you just plug in. It has to connect to everything your company already does: your data integrity, your risk management, your process models. You can't just bolt it on. You have to weave it into the very fabric of your strategy.
And that brings us to the really big questions that every single company has to answer. Like, how do you explain the AI's black box thinking to a regulator? How do you know for sure the data it's learning from is good? Where does the human expert step in and say, hold on? And maybe most importantly, how do you make sure the whole system is ethical and fair? These are not small questions.
But maybe the best way to think about all this comes straight from the industry itself. This isn't about throwing out everything that works. As the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries put it, AI is a new and digital way to run established processes more efficiently. It's an evolution, an enhancement, not a revolution that replaces everything.
And that really brings us to our final thought. In a world that is just drowning in data, with regulations getting more complex by the minute, is making this shift to predictive compliance just a nice upgrade to have, or is it becoming a matter of pure survival?